There's plenty of stuff in here that I think would be useful throughout our code base, especially this cleanup. I think every single test file should probably make sure we clean up all of this stuff so we don't have to worry about putting that in all of our test files. So I'm going to cut this out right here and put it in right here. And it looks like there are a couple of imports we're going to need to make here. So I think somewhere around there, we'll just grab all those. And let's see, we don't need that one or any of those or this one. And yep, that's looking pretty good right there. So we don't need to worry about that anymore. And that means that in this file, we don't need to bring in those imports either. So that's looking pretty good. Now, the next thing is this render function, and these other utilities would probably be useful for lots of other parts of our code base as well. So I'm going to go to this app test utils in our source test file, and I'm going to paste those in there. And then let me grab all these imports and see what we need from these. Okay, so it looks like we won't need that. I'm going to actually hang on to that one here for a second. We won't need build book or the books.db or format date or the app, but everything else looks pretty good. And now here at the very bottom, I'm going to export render, and let's export user event because pretty much every test file is going to need user event, and why bother adding another import? We'll just re-export user event here. We'll also export login as user and wait for loading to finish. And you know what? It'd actually be nice if we just export everything from testing library React. That way people can just import this file rather than testing library React, and they can get everything, including the screen and whatever else they need for their test. So let's take a look up here. Everything's looking pretty good. So coming back over to this, now we can change this import to import from test app test utils. And now we're going to import this, and now we can get rid of all of these utilities, and instead we'll bring these up as an import. Now our render is no longer going to be RTL render, but we're overriding the render that we export from React Testing Library with our own custom render right here. And so now if we just import the render from here, it's going to be importing this render function. So we can just use render as it is. Looks like we don't need wait for element to be removed, but we do need the wait for loading to finish. So let's swap that right there. Looks like we don't need auth or build user or the user's DB or app providers anymore. And let's save that and see what we've got. So we've got a passing test here. And you know what? I just noticed we can also pull a user event from here. So we can get rid of that import as well. Great, so things are looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and review what we did. Basically, we just removed a ton of code. So we took all of the generic utilities that we'd built inside of this file, and we moved them into this app test utils module, and then re-exported all of those. We re-exported user event and re-exported everything from testing library React so that we only have one file that we need to worry about importing our utilities from. And we also took the generically useful cleanup that we had in that file and stuck it in here so that every test could benefit from that cleanup, and we never have to worry about the user being logged in between one test to the next, or any of the in-memory databases that we have and data that was set up in one test and now impacting another, which should help in the stability of our tests.